Hello, everybody. Hello out there. I am live again, but not in my car this time. I am now in my office again, and it's mostly dark, but the monitors are illuminating me. I thought if I did it this way, I would look a little bit better. So I'll just say right up front, the elephant in the room here is CJ, what the hell is wrong with your face? And I am going through a sort of chemotherapy for skin cancer, and the topical cream that I have to use is it burns off it brings out the cancer spots and then it burns them off. So my face is on fire. I've got a ton of little spots, as you can see. I'm all just riddled with skin cancer. So we're trying to get rid of it. Because walking around like a headless person or a skinless person probably wouldn't be that much fun. It's not anything to be super worried about. It's not melanoma. So we're at the early stages. But anyway, enough about me. What are we talking about today? I have a great special guest on the that I'm going to be bringing on here in just a second. And his name is James Long. And he had initially contacted me about an issue back when I was able to practice law on my temporary license. And now that that's expired and I'm waiting, I sort of had to tell him, sorry, man, nothing I can do. Unfortunately, there's no one else that can really do much. But I still want to help him out. And as we go through this, we're gonna talk to James about his story. But here's what essentially is the issue. James was incarcerated for 20 years. I'll let you tell him that story about what led to that. Or was it? I think it was about 20 years. Was incarcerated for a long time. Let's just put it that way. Longer than he should have been for a crime he didn't commit. And in Texas, there's something that we have called the Tim Cole Act. And I'll be going over that as well as throughout this interview with James, not Tim. And under the Tim Cole Act, if you are wrongfully incarcerated in the state of Texas, you are entitled to compensation. And that compensation can be a pretty hefty sum of money to the tune of $80,000 a year, which in my view is probably not enough, especially when it's taken away 20 years of your life. But it can definitely help you get your feet back on the ground and get started. So that's the backdrop. What I'm going to do right now is bring on James, and we're going to talk to him about how this has affected him, because right now there's not really anything that you can okay, let me just say, it doesn't look like there is, but I think we have found, and we'll talk about that throughout this interview. I think we found a way around the only problem in this case, which is the statute of limitations, because the state hasn't done its job, and we'll get to that. James, hello, my friend, and welcome to my channel here. I don't say the show because I don't really do a show very often. I just, as things come up, I try to make videos. But tell us a little bit about yourself first, and who you used to be, I guess, and who you are now, and what led to you becoming incarcerated.
Thank you, CJ, and thank you for having me. My name is James Long. 1992, they arrested me for capital murder out of Waco, Texas. I ended up going to prison for sexual assault and accessory to capital murder. No DNA, no nothing. They did have DNA, but they didn't present it in the courts. Our attorneys at the time told us that it wouldn't help us; it would hurt us.
Oh, jeez.
So most of us took a plea bargain. We were all young, and listening to our attorneys at the time, and we took plea bargains, and then ended up testifying on stand against another guy that they wrote our testimonies and had us practice them. And then we testified in court on that, and he ended up getting a life sentence, and we got 20 years apiece. And I spent 20 years, actually I did a little more than 20, but I did 20 years on that crime, and then they released me. The Texas Innocence Act out of Austin, UT, a girl there named Mary Elliott McKetta she she got a hold of my case and started researching it and contacting me. And when she graduated, her daddy, he's not even criminal law. His name is Mike McKetta, and he worked for a big firm out of Austin called Graves, Daughtry, Herring, and Moody. And Mike and Bill Christian teamed up on it, and they helped me. They went in and they got DNA tests done. They proved that I didn't commit the crime. The district attorney in Waco got ousted for being basically a criminal. He was taking bribes from the motorcycle gangs there in Waco when they had the shootout at the Twin Peaks, and so he got ousted from there. And he was trying to get he was wanting to retry all of us. And I welcomed a new trial. I wanted a trial. I never got a trial. And then whenever they got him out of office, and then they brought in this new guy, I don't even know his name now, but he told my attorney, Mike McKetta, he goes, I don't want to retry this case. And Mike says, well, you need to drop charges in. And he says, no, you need to convince your client to take a plea bargain for a lesser crime so I don't have mud on my face. And well, Mike told him, he said, that ain't going to happen. He goes, he's not going to do that. He didn't commit this crime. He didn't know. If he'd have known then everything he knows now, he would have never took a plea bargain then. And so they, instead of dropping the charges, or instead of filing actual innocence like the judge did, they just dropped the charges. So it's as if nothing's ever happened. It shows that I was arrested for capital murder, but that's it.
So they dropped the charges after you were incarcerated for 20 years. Yes. Did you get out and then the Innocence Project was able to maintain your innocence, or did you get out because of their involvement?
No, I completed my sentence. I did 20 on a 20, and
wow, they didn't even let you out early.
No,
wow.
No, it wasn't until I got out in 2014. It wasn't until 2018 that we got to go to court, and it took them another 2 years to do anything because the district attorney sat on it and didn't want to do nothing. And Mike McKetta and them kept pushing. So they sent it on into the Court of Criminal Appeals. And the Court of Criminal Appeals sent it back and told the courts to have a hearing. There has to be a fact of finding on file. So we had a hearing, 3 days worth of hearings. And right after that's when he got ousted out of the office, and they had a special election and brought the new district attorney in.
So the judge found that there was no probable cause for the arrest. He acquitted you. What else were you waiting on?
We were waiting for the district attorney to file actual innocence as well. The way the laws, the judge and the district attorney both have to file actual innocence in order for you to get what the state offers, which is $80,000 for every year you were incarcerated, $35,000 for every year you have to register as a sex offender.
Okay. Now let's do this. I'm gonna go back a little bit because then I want to get into the law. I want to show our viewers here exactly what the law says, and we're going to go over it kind of point by point, and we're going to pick some things out here that hopefully, here's why I'm doing this interview for all of you out there. As it is right now, we've got an injustice where a man served 20 years of his golden years in a state penitentiary for a crime he didn't commit, a crime that he was given actual innocence to by a judge. He's supposed to have been compensated for that. The problem is that I think before he figured out or found out about this, the statute of limitations had run. So but we're going to get into that in a second. I want to go over the law in just a second, but first I want to get the personal stuff out of the way. How old were you when you went into prison? What was it, 1991?
93. I was 22 years old.
You were 22 years old. You go into jail at 22 years old. What did you do at that? Like, what were you doing at that time? Were you in college? Did you have a job?
Well, I was married, had 2 kids, working, trying to support my kids and my wife at the time, and just trying to live life.
All right. And what did you work as?
I worked on a farm. I worked for a big farmer there outside of.
Okay. All right. And then go ahead. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
And I was driving a truck.
Okay. So then at 22 years old, this happens. You're implicated in a capital murder, incarcerated for sexual assault. You spend 20 years. So you go in at 22. You came out at what, 42?
43. Yes, sir.
43. Yeah. See, I went to law school because I don't know math, but
well, I ended up doing a little extra time because of preliminary stuff.
Gotcha. And you come out at 43 years old, and that was back in 2015, 17?
14.
2014. Okay. And then, so what have you been doing or able to do? Because you don't have a felony on your record now, right? Has everything been expunged?
Everything's gone. I actually got my concealed carry or license to carry. I'm working. I have a really good job. Just got a big promotion, made supervisor. Work for a really great company. And I just keep going forward. I try not to look back.
So you spend this time in there. We've got this thing called the Tim Cole Act here in Texas. When did you first learn about that?
Just a few short weeks ago.
Okay. And now, how did you learn about the Tim Cole Act?
Actually, you told me.
All right. So that said, I kind of wanted to lay that down there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up now the law. And
just so people know, I've been trying since I got out in 2014. I've contacted hundreds of attorneys trying to find somebody to help me fight this case. I mean, yeah, I got my rights back. Yeah, I mean, I get to live a felony-free life now. I got a wonderful wife, and her kids basically adopted me. I love them to death like they're my own. And life is grand. It's great. I couldn't ask for anything better after 20 years in prison.
Well, and actually, I didn't ask you this when I was going through the personal stuff, and it just hit me that you said something that I completely glossed over. You were 22 years old, married with 2 kids. What happened after you got incarcerated? Did you stay married?
No, she divorced me and left, and took my kids and turned them against me.
So this is more than just about the fact that you lost time. You lost relationships. You lost your fatherhood. I mean, you lost, and I would argue that that's worth more than money. But it's not, there's a big price to be paid when prosecutors don't do their job, when defense attorneys don't do their job. And it's more than just, hey, I had to sit in jail for 70 or for 20 years, eating crappy food and, just existing essentially. That's just terrible. I can't even fathom it. So here's the law. This is the Tim Cole Act is it can be found in the Civil Practice and Remedies Code. Anybody can look this up. It's chapter 103. It's called the Tim Cole Act back when it was passed. That's what it was labeled. Now it's a law. It's just a boring name of Civil Practice and Remedies Code, chapter 103. And here are the elements. I've highlighted the stuff that I think is pertinent to this story just to kind of make it a little bit easier for the viewers and maybe to go along with. But it starts out that, and I'm not going to say person. I'm going to say James. James is entitled to compensation if he has served in whole or in part a sentence in prison under the laws of the state. Now, you served 20 years in whole under the laws of the state for sexual aggravated assault or sexual assault, whatever it was. Either way, it was fake, doesn't matter. And the person, and I think this is the one that applies to you because no, did we get you a full pardon, or I'm trying to remember which of these applied.
I didn't get a pardon. They just dropped the charges. I had to fight for the rest.
Okay, so then you've been granted relief. That is, and most likely, I'm sure that what the Innocence Project did, and I probably need to interview one of them, is they probably did a writ of habeas corpus based on a court finding or determination that the person is actually innocent for the crime. Or, okay, yeah, so that's what I thought would apply, and so that's where that is. And then there's some more others there. So once you meet those, here's where I think personally, and this is why, I'm not an attorney. I just want to make that very clear. I've said that every time. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney. Not anymore. I'm not. I no longer have a license. Okay. I'm working on that. But when I see injustice, this is what I went to law school for. And the problem is a lot of these cases, they're expensive and attorneys want a lot of money for it. I just want justice. Obviously I need to get paid for services, but I went and met with James, came out here to Temple because we had spoken and I let him know about this law, and I couldn't believe that he didn't do anything. So I started looking into it, and initially I thought, well, damn it, James, we're screwed. The statute of limitations has run out. I'm going to go to that first, actually, because, in law, the statute of limitations is almost everything. It's 99% of the game. If you can't meet the statute of limitations, almost nothing else matters in law. So
you're the one trying to fight the law.
Right. And so initially, after I did all my research and started looking at case law and reading through all your paperwork, I initially told James, I was like, well, I actually gave you a very far-fetched. I'm like, look, the only thing I can see is, maybe we can argue a contracts issue because at least contracts cases have a longer statute of limitations. And we can say that, there's a contract, that the Constitution is a contract between the state and the people, and the state has breached its contract. And, maybe we make a breach of contract claim. And I was very honest with them. And I said, but I'll tell you, it's very far-fetched, and it's highly unlikely that we're going to win on the merits on that one. It's probably just going to get thrown out on summary judgment. Looking further into this, though, so here's the statute of limitations. A person seeking compensation under this chapter must file an application with the comptroller for compensation under subchapter B, and not later than the third anniversary of the date, one, the person whose imprisonment the claim is based on received a pardon. That hasn't happened yet. Two, the person's application for a writ of habeas corpus was granted as provided by section 103 A2B, which is what I highlighted up above. So this is the one. So it's 3 years from this date, which you said was about 2017, right?
Yes, sir.
So that would have put us at, according to this, that would have put us at 2020. And we're now going into the third year after that, or an order of dismissal described. And even if there's an order of dismissal, same thing, it would have been 2017. So initially, looking at this, and this is probably what most attorneys do, is they're like, sorry, we're screwed. I promised you that I was going to keep looking for some way to do this. And I thought the only way that we could really fix this is we're in the legislative session right now. And if we can get a legislator to sign on to a law that changes this to the one that I wrote and I submitted for trying to get people to sign on to, was that not later than the anniversary of the year. I can't remember exactly how I wrote it. Essentially, if you're in for 20 years, you get 20 years. On the anniversary date of the number of years for which the person served, after which these following things, it was all legalese crap. But essentially, if you serve 5 years, the statute of limitation is 5 years. If you serve 18 years, the statute of limitation is 18 years. If you serve 36 years, the statute of limitations is 36 years. That's what I wanted to see changed here in 103.003. And I wrote up something that changed this third anniversary from the date to language that would allow you to have that statute of limitations. Because here's the problem. Like you, James, a lot of people don't realize that this law is out there. But here's the real problem. You're supposed to. And this is why I think we still have a case. If you go to 103.002, notice to wrongfully imprisoned persons, okay? It says the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And I'm going to go through this with you one by one, James. I'm going to ask you some questions here.
Okay.
So we know you're a wrongfully imprisoned person. We figured that out. All right. It says right here, the department shall, that's a word, that's a very important word, shall provide to James. I'm going to put your name in here because I'm going to make it personal. The department shall provide to James information both orally and in writing that includes. Now, I want to know, James, did you get guidance from the Texas Department of, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice? Did you get guidance on how to obtain compensation under Section 103?
No.
Okay. Did you get a list of and contact information for nonprofit advocacy groups that were identified by the Department of Criminal Justice to assist you, James, in filing a claim for compensation under this chapter?
No, sir, I did not.
Did the department, because they're required, did the department provide you with any information listed that we just went through at the time that you were released?
No.
And did they provide you that information at the time that they decided that you're entitled to? I mean, all right.
I never heard this until you told me.
So here's the deal. Here's my thoughts are. My thoughts are this third anniversary date does not apply yet. And it doesn't apply because the state hasn't done its job of contacting you. So I think there's an argument to be made. And unfortunately, there's really nothing I can do about it right now except make this video. And I really want people, if you know attorneys who are currently attorneys that are willing to help this man, share this video with them. Share this video on your social media. Share this video on your channels. I don't care. You can download it and upload it onto your channels. This is an injustice because they didn't do their job. How is somebody like James supposed to know? Well, let me ask you this, James. This is section 103. Let me bring this over here real quick. I'm going to pull up the Texas statutes. And I'm going to blindly pick one here. Let's see. There we go. Liability for stalking. That's a fun one. All right. James, have you read chapter 85 of the Civil Practice and Remedies Code?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. Let's go to the Code of Criminal Procedure. Let's just pick a chapter here. Have you read chapter 66 of the Code of Criminal Procedure?
No, sir, I have not.
Yeah, I don't think many people in the state of Texas have read every single law on the books. And when it comes to what your rights are, either you have to kind of know or understand. Oh, I don't know why that's up there. You either kind of have to know or understand or have somebody tell you these kinds of things. And until someone tells you, you have no idea. And so, yeah. And so we get, this is why in the law says that the Department of Criminal Justice is required. This word shall here, I can't highlight it because I've already highlighted, but this word shall here means you don't have a choice, Department of Criminal Justice. This is what you are required to do. Okay. Must. This is what you are required to do, Department of Criminal Justice. Okay. you're supposed to provide this information. Okay, it was supposed to be private. Now, here's the saving grace that I think, James, is I don't think that 3-year clock has applied yet, because Section C2, so this is I think 103.002 C2 says that they have to provide this information to you as soon as practicable after the department has reason to believe that the person is entitled to compensation. So they have to first make that determination. So one of the first things that an attorney should be doing is contacting the Department of Criminal Justice and asking for a determination that you are entitled to compensation under Chapter 103. And then you have 3 years to apply, to make application. So at first I thought, oh, we're screwed. This has been 3 years. And then, when you kind of read things, you realize, wait a minute, the department didn't do its job. So if anybody out there knows a current attorney, I will not be an attorney until at least April. Now, it's not like we're in a hurry, because it's already been, we're going on 5 years now since you were released and since all of this happened. But obviously, if my math is correct, we're talking $1.6 million, I think.
Yeah.
I don't.
$8,000 a year for the 20 years, it would have been 1.5 million plus the 35,000 for every year I had to register. One thing that we're missing out here is that I'm not the only one that went to prison for this case.
Yeah.
There's 4 of us.
Right.
They sent 4 guys to prison for a crime, for a rape and murder, that this DNA from that time shows that it was at least 1 or 2 black guys that committed the crime.
Now, let me ask you this, though, because as you just said, the DNA said that the DNA came back to a black male, which is very easy to tell in DNA. Now, back then, I know things are different now than they were 20 years ago, but I mean, is it possible that you identified as a black male back then?
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, because your DNA, if you identified as a black male back then, the DNA would show that, because that's how it works. Apparently, I mean, magically we become these things that we think we are. Okay, so you didn't identify as a black male. Do you identify as a black male today?
No.
I guess it's safe to say you don't look like a black male. I mean,
no.
So yeah, and it's not just you. It's we're talking 1.5 million times 4 people. I mean, that's $6 million plus the sex registry, which is probably another what? How many years did you have to do that? 2?
2014 to 2018.
Yeah, so 4 years. Okay, so there's another 140,000 apiece. They're I don't understand why an attorney's not taking this case, because they could do it literally for free and then say, hey, I'll tell you what, give me 15, 20%. Normally attorneys take like 30 or 40% of a cut. I've made a personal promise to myself not to ever take more than 20% from a client, because I just don't think that's right. That an attorney gets up, more than half of anything. You're the one that was incarcerated. You're the one that was beaten, or your family member was the one that was killed. And you just get a, $1.2 million judgment, and the attorney gets, 800,000 of that, and you've got 400,000. And then I've never really liked that. And so I made a personal promise in my practice, whenever that happens, that I'm never going to take more than 20%. But I'm also only going to represent good people. I'm not going to, be representing dirt bags. And so I think those are good people that deserve it. Obviously, it needs to be said that the individual who committed the crime is probably still out there. Is that person out there that committed the crime?
According to DPS, the judge ruled in 2015 or 14 that he ordered the DPS to run the DNA through CODIS Bank every 30 days. And as far as I know, they're doing their job. I can't prove they're not. They haven't found anybody. I mean,
And this is in Waco, right?
yes, sir. McLennan
Yeah,
County.
I doubt they're doing their job. Sorry, I'll just say it. I
I
doubt they're doing their job, but
I,
you don't have to say it. I will.
I know up to the point when we went to court, they had not run the CODIS bank one time. I do remember the judge being very upset with DPS in the courtroom and gave them a direct order to run it and have it run. There was analysts that came from scientists that came to testify for the DNA. They run the new DNA at the time, which is STR, YSTR, something like that. And it's been proven to be 99.999% correct by multiple offices and labs. And that's why they run that one. But it's hard to, another thing they did is that when they found the bodies, they claimed that they found hair fibers in the blankets that the bodies was wrapped up in. And according to the DNA report, it states that it was of a Negroid hair. That's exactly how they wrote it in there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got those documents. I can attest to that. I've read. Well, it's locked up right now. I don't want to get it out of the safe, but I've read every. He kept a really good binder. He's got a really good binder with all this information. And so, if you're an attorney out there, and well, let me ask you this, James. If someone takes this case, are you willing to part with 30 or 40% of that? Because that's what a regular attorney is gonna ask for. I mean, are you looking for an attorney that'll help you get at least some of this money back?
Yes, whatever it takes. Somebody. So, a couple of things I want to add to all this. You're talking about statute of limitations. I know enough about the law that in a rape case and or a murder case, there is no statute of limitations. If you go out and rape somebody, 50 years down the road, they prove you did it, you're going to jail if you're alive. Why is there statute of limitations on how long they give me whatever they should have given me? Under their law, it states too that if once you've proven your innocence, that you get insurance through the states.
Yes.
80,000 a year for every year you was incarcerated, 35,000 for every year you had to register as a sex offender, and you get a monthly check based on what you would have made throughout the years, monthly. And that if I remember correctly, it's for the remainder of the next 20 years or however long you're in prison.
Yeah, and I'm pulling that. Go ahead, keep going.
They haven't even tried that. Well, I mean, luckily for me, I had some family in a different part of the state that was willing to help me and give me a chance. I mean, come on, I came from a family that was well respected in the farm communities, the cattle communities, and then all of a sudden I went to jail for a really hideous crime. A lot of people turned their back on me. A lot of my family turned their back on me because they thought that when I took that plea bargain, they thought that I was a real piece of shit.
And let me talk about that, because there are a lot of people that don't understand how the system works. And
it's very
look, I can't stand attorneys. I can't. And the reason is that most attorneys, at least criminal defense attorneys, in my experience, tend to be what's called plea bargain attorneys. They're not trial attorneys. Trial attorneys are very rare. As a matter of fact, the number of cases that go to trial, I think the number is like 14% of all criminal cases ever go to trial, because they're plea deals or they're dismissed. But generally, they're plea deals. And what they do, well, actually, I want you to explain your personal story. Like, what did because I know they threatened you with something. So how did they get you to do a plea deal?
So I was the last one to take a plea bargain. The two of them turned to state's evidence, and the Roy Davis, the deputy sheriff that was investigating the case, came to me while I was in the county jail and told me that they were going to put a needle in my arm, and they were going to give me and the other guy lethal injection, and that they were going to kill us for what we supposedly had done to these people. And my attorney at the time, Russell Hunt, he's like, he kept telling me, don't worry about it, they don't have any evidence, they're not going to do anything. I listened to my attorney. I didn't do anything, and that's the worst thing I could have done. He sold me out, and at the last minute, he told me, he says, you need to take a plea bargain or you're going to get a life sentence. And I was like, but you told me. He goes, they had an ace in the hole, and I didn't know about it. So he goes, I feel like you're guilty. You need to take a plea bargain, take the 20 years they're going to give you, or at the time it was 10 years probation, and refer to adjudicated probation at that. I should have known then that was smoke rings, because there's no way they're going to give you refer to adjudicated probation for a capital murder case.
Yeah.
Sorry. And of course that, it showed my part, how naive and stupid I was, because I listened to him. I think that in high school now, they want to teach race theory and all this crap. They ought to be teaching law. They need to be teaching these kids to watch out for the government, because the government's coming for your ass, and they better know it.
And here's the two-tiered problem, as I see it. And one of the reasons, again, there are a lot of reasons why I went to law school, but I mean, it can all be boiled down to sort of the way the system is run. And the way the system is run is, first of all, you've got prosecutors who are not focused on justice. They're focused on convictions. I took a great class. My law school has a class called the Prosecution Project, and it was created by this former judge who's now a professor there at the law school. Great guy, and he the purpose of the class was because, as a judge, he saw way too many prosecutors that were prosecuting cases that never should have been brought before him. And the reason for that is, he says, because he was also a prosecutor before he was a judge, is that prosecutors get promoted and reelected based on their convictions. And when you can get a plea deal, that's a conviction. The worst thing, I don't understand how this is a bad thing, but the worst thing that they can do is, file charges and then later dismiss them, because that makes them look bad. Because, why would they have filed charges only to dismiss them? So that doesn't look good on a prosecutor. And, that the quote hard on crime people that are going to stand up to him at the next election are going to call them out for their soft on crime, because look at all these cases they dismissed of these violent criminals.
Exactly.
That's the problem with the system. That's the first problem. The first problem with the system is that prosecutors are not rewarded based on their defense of justice, because they should be just as focused on making sure that people are innocent. And I would even say more so, ensuring that people are innocent before they start trying to prove them guilty. Because that's the presumption.
The problem with is that in the state of Texas, you are guilty until proven innocent.
That seems to be the definite understanding, despite what they say. When, for example, I was at the trial of Carmen de Cruz today, and the judge gave the jury charge on what the officer has been charged with, and of course made very clear that the fact that Carmen de Cruz did not testify can't be used against him. That's absolutely correct. And he also said that he's not guilty of anything yet. The state has to prove it. As a matter of fact, the defense doesn't even have to put on evidence at all in a case, because the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone is guilty. The defense doesn't have to prove that someone's innocent. But that's not the problem. The problem here is that prosecutors want a conviction. And if that conviction means that you're going to get deferred adjudication because they know that the case is screwed up, but they don't want to look bad by dismissing it. So you know what? We'll do it this way. I'll just, hey, look, you plead guilty to whatever charge, whatever offense, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor. You plead guilty to this thing you didn't do, and we'll take it easy on you. But if you don't, I'm gonna lay the hammer down on you, and the full force and effect of the law is gonna come cracking down, and I guarantee you're gonna get murdered by the state with a lethal injection or whatever it's gonna be, the electric chair. If you don't plead guilty, we are going to bury you 10 feet deep. And it scares the piss out of people.
They con me into taking a plea bargain. They write the statement, have me testify to the statement for what? To lie on a witness stand so a guy can get a life sentence and I can go down there and spend 20 years of my life for it.
Yep. They did the same thing to me when, in my case is nothing like yours. I got off easy. I got a fine. That's it. I didn't get a day in jail. I got, 12 hours in jail when I got arrested. But, I was charged with a bogus crime of resisting. And the prosecutor kept coming to my attorney and saying, well, okay, we'll offer this. And, we'll offer criminal intent. Wait a minute. I didn't intend to do anything criminal. No, I'm not going to say yes to that. No, I'm not going to agree and take that plea deal. And I finally says, you know what? I'll tell you what. I will plead to walking down the wrong side of the road, because I will admit that was the crime that I was committing that day, was walking down the wrong side of the road. But that they weren't happy with that, because that's just a Class C misdemeanor. County courts don't handle Class C misdemeanors. That's for the municipal courts to handle. That's not for some big hotshot elected. And he said, no, they even offered me, you know what? We'll dismiss your charges if you move out of Bell County. Motherfucker, this is my home. I was born here. I have more of a right to this place than the prosecutors do, because none of them were born here. And so obviously I didn't take that either, but they knew that nothing bad had happened, that the only thing that had happened was I was walking down the wrong side of the road, which again, I asked you earlier, have you read certain parts of the criminal code or the code? I guarantee you probably haven't read the entire transportation code. Did you know that there's a law that says what side of the road you're supposed to walk down if there's no sidewalk, and what side of the road you're supposed to walk down if there is a sidewalk? And I bet you didn't know that. I didn't know that, because nobody sits down and reads the transportation code like a book and understands every single law. But that's the nature of the prosecutorial system here, is that they need a conviction. They will scare the piss out of you that you'll never see your family again, or that you'll take your last breath in a prison, and they'll scare you so much that you'll agree to just about anything to spare your life. Right. I don't think
you're
exactly. And that's what's got to fix. And that's what this prosecution project class was about, was creating more ethical prosecutors that understand, hey, in the interest of justice, we're not going to prosecute this, not in the interest of my career. And we need to fix the system that rewards for convictions and not rewards for justice. Now, what we also don't want is prosecutors just letting violent criminals go. I mean, obviously, but there's something called Blackstone's ratio in law. And Blackstone's ratio states that it is better that 9 guilty people go free than 1 innocent person be caught up in the system. And nowadays I think it's flipped on its head. It is better that 9 innocent people get caught up in the system, that 1 guilty person go free. That's what I've seen.
That's what they want. The government wants everybody to have a felony, so they take your guns away. So they take all your rights away. So they take that's their loophole. As long as they can get you with a felony, they own you. You can't do nothing with a felony on your record. You know,
And they don't tell a lot of these people. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you can't even get a good job.
Yeah. And they don't tell people, you know, when they scare the piss out of them and they convince them that it's in their best interest to plead to this felony and you know, you'll only spend 2 years or maybe 1 year, or you know what, you won't, just plead to this felony and we'll just put you on probation. And what they don't tell you is once you plead to that felony, you no longer have a right to vote. You no longer have a right to carry a firearm. You no longer have your employment, where you can live, because a lot of landlords will not take felons. So, I mean, you're screwed all over the place.
The other thing they don't tell you is if you got a felony on your record and somebody breaks into your house and you hit them in the head with a baseball bat, no matter what, you're going to jail because you're already got an X on your back. You're already a bad person in their eyes. The whole world knows it because it's on their records. You know? Now, the deal about voting, President George W. Bush, he changed that. As long as you're not on paper anymore and you have a felony, you can vote now. But for years, you wasn't able to.
Right. So here's what James was talking about. This section here, a person entitled to compensation under this section is also eligible to obtain group health benefits plan coverage through the Texas Department of Criminal Justice as if the person were an employee of the department. So that's the health coverage he was talking about that comes with that as well. So here's what I need everyone to do again. And I'm going to be doing this as well because we need to find James an attorney that will take this case. And look, it's a lucrative case. Okay. Believe me, I would take it if I could, because I could use the money, even 20% of, a couple $1 million, because you got 4 plaintiffs here, of a couple $1 million, even 20% is a good payout for any attorney. And I know that the standard attorney isn't going to take 20%. So, when you're talking 30 to 40%, an attorney is going to walk away easily with all 4 of these people about $1 million. Okay.
Well,
or more.
That $80,000 a year and all that right there is only good if the district attorney and the judge ruled actual innocence.
And so that's where this is right here, that it says that, well, keep in mind, there's several different ways, though. It depends on how your case is adjudicated. If it was from a habeas corpus based on a finding, then that's one. If it's been founded on just granted relief as well. But see, I think you meet B, not C. C is the one where the state district court has to enter this charge and the state attorney states that no credible evidence exists. That's only for chapter C. I think you fall under chapter B, so you don't have to worry about that. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Because if you look, there's that word "or" right there. So either you've been granted relief based on a court finding or determination that you're actually innocent, and a court finding did say you are actually innocent.
Yeah.
A judge. That's a court. Yeah. When a judge says that, that means that's coming from the court. So the fact that a court found that determination is enough on its own, because this word "or," it doesn't say "and," because if it said "and," I know these are both writs, but if it's a state district court in which the charge against the person was pending and entered an order dismissing the charge, but your charge wasn't pending.
Mm-mm.
And then that's when it would also need to be the state attorney has got to also say actual innocence. So I believe that you fall under B, and you don't need that thing from your attorney. You've got the thing from the court, and that's all that's needed. That's all that an attorney needs.
Okay. So the nothing says we can't sue for more than $80,000 a year.
You're only entitled to $80,000, but you can sue for more in civil court. Yeah, I would imagine
a lot of cases where they got somebody spent 20, 25 years in prison and they got $25 million out of it.
Yeah. So if we can find an attorney, ladies and gentlemen out there, or if you're an attorney watching this, contact me. I'll get you in touch with James. And I don't even want a finder's fee. I'm not even going to do a referral fee. I know a lot of attorneys, if you find someone a big case, they'll pay you a finder's fee. Now, if you want to pay me a finder's fee, I'll take it, but I'm not asking for one. But this is a big case. And, look, my hearing is in April. If we can't find an attorney by April and I'm able to get sworn in April, by golly, this will be my first case. But I would prefer not to have to wait an extra 2.5 months for me. So please reach out to an attorney that out there. I know a lot of activists have worked with attorneys that do civil rights type stuff. That's what this is. I think personally, this is a very cut and dry case. The only hiccup here is the statute of limitations. Down here is this 3rd anniversary. However, I don't think that the elements for when this kicks off, because remember, you haven't been pardoned. A person's application for it was granted or an order of dismissal. So once that order of dismissal has been granted, that kicks in what the state is supposed to do. And they can't hold it against you that you weren't aware of this because they're required to tell you about this and they never did. And here's the thing. Here's what I would argue is if they didn't tell you about this like they were supposed to, that's a whole nother cause of action that you can sue for. And there's your 25 million right there, because instead of even worrying about the 80,000 a year, you can sue them for negligence. That's again, you're going to run up against statutes of limitations. I don't know how that's going to play out, but you've got causes here. And I think that this 3-year statute of limitations, attorneys, correct me if I'm wrong, send me an email and say, CJ, you're way out of line here. But, attorneys always try to find ways to work within the law on behalf of their clients. This is what I would do. I would say, look, my client, and again, I'm not an attorney and James is not my client. My client was wrongfully imprisoned and he's not, the clock hasn't started yet because he hasn't been given this information orally or in writing yet. Now, this doesn't say, it just says as soon as practicable after the department has reason to believe that the person is entitled to compensation. Well, maybe it's taken them 5 years to determine whether or not you're entitled to compensation. So an attorney out here, I think this is easy money. Very easy money. It's not like you got to go to trial or anything. We just got to submit the application. But first, we got to get DPS, or all we got to do is write a letter to the Texas Court of Criminal Justice, and the Commission on Criminal Department of Criminal Justice, and get them to send this thing because you've met this requirement here under Section B right here. Hey, I don't mind my first case making me a couple million, but I'd prefer that James get justice, not that I get rich. That's what I want. And so, talk to an attorney, have them look at this video. I'm going to keep it. We've got 5 minutes left. I am going to keep it under an hour for this interview, and I'll leave it. I'll go back to you, James, for anything that you want to add, something that we're missing.
Well, there is a few things here I'd like to add. One thing is these district attorneys, they know that they're above law because there's no accountability for them. They can screw your life up, and who cares? Because nothing's going to ever happen to them. I mean, all the stuff I've looked at and seen and studied and researched, I only know of 2 attorneys that ended up actually going to prison, or district attorneys that went to prison for withholding information. Now, in my case, they blatantly withheld information. They never showed me the DNA from 1992, 93. I've never seen the original DNA until 2014. So that right there, that's a felony within itself against theirs. That's against their merits. They never even come out publicly and said anything about any of it.
Yeah.
It's like they don't care. Okay, well, we're above you. We're above the law. We can do whatever the hell we want. And that's not right. That's not how it's supposed to be. You know,
Yeah.
these people work for us. We don't work for them. We pay their salaries. If we pay them to screw us over, here's something that people need to think about. You know, every time somebody goes to jail, every time somebody gets screwed over, there's a mother that gets hurt. There's a father that gets hurt. There's a child that gets hurt. You know, it ain't just that. And nobody believes this is going to happen until it happens. Oh, it'll never happen to me. It will.
Yep.
If we don't put a stop to this, it's just going to get worse. We need to pass laws. We need to get laws passed. And I'm not going to stop here. I want to keep going. I want to take this all the way. You know,
and that's the other thing. If you're watching this video, what I'd like you to do is contact, because the state legislature is in session right now, and contact your state legislator and your state senator and show them this video, or tell them about this video. Ask them to watch it. I know it's an hour long. I mean, I think you can probably get the general idea in the first 30 minutes, but ask them to do something about this. And here's what we need to ask them to do. And that is, we need to change the law so that a person, the statute of limitations equals the number of years that a person was wrongfully incarcerated. As James said earlier, you know, if you rape someone or you murder someone, there's no statute of limitations for that. So if you're wrongfully incarcerated for murdering someone or raping someone, you only get 3 years to figure out that you've got to file a claim. There's something wrong with that, and we need to fix that. So, not only do I need y'all to contact an attorney that'll take this case, but contact your legislator and ask him to change the law to allow for, you know, the statute of limitations to be extended. And here's the other thing. Here's what we need. Contact what's called the Sunset Committee, because the Sunset Committee is supposed to look at a lot of these organizations out there. And I don't think that the Department of Criminal Justice is doing its job as it relates to this law. They are required by law. They shall, they must. Those are the words that are being used. Shall, must do these things, and they're not doing them. And there are, I don't know how many defendants are out there that have been released for not doing anything wrong and are not, have no idea about the Tim Cole Act. We're gonna make this a big deal, though. We just need some help doing that, and that's what I'm asking everyone else for. All right, we got 30 seconds, James. Anything else?
No, thank you. Thank everybody. And thank you in advance for any help you can give us.
All right. There you have it, folks. This is terrible. I try to bring people on when I do these interviews. I know I don't do them a lot, but I try to bring these interviews on when they're things of interest that need to be fixed in our system. We need to make Texas a great place. We need to make our justice system a justice system and not a justice system that is criminal. And we need to protect innocent people. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'd like to thank you, James, for allowing me to do this interview. Hopefully we can get some movement on this. And hey, worst case scenario, I'm back on your case in April. If if I can get through the Texas bar,
I'll be happy.
Believe me. I would love to take this, but I would love even more someone else to take it and you get justice a lot quicker. So with that, you guys take care, be safe, be free, and I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.